City advertising be prohibited from any publication or website that allows offensive and inflammatory content, including websites that allow anonymous postings.
Moved by, seeking the floor, Councilor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to defer this item until the meeting in December. After I read the report, I did make some, to better inform myself calls, and it was later in the day when people were getting back to me, so I haven't had an opportunity to gather the information that I feel I need to make an informed decision.
Is there a second for the deferral? Councilor Rivette. Any discussion on the deferral? Councilor Rivette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe we give administration more time to find out whether or not they touch base with some of the problem areas of concern and see whether or not there's something to rectify that problem, making people put their names or whatever it is. But I think that I concur that we have to defer.
Thank you. Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to commend the department that put this report together, and I want to say I support the recommendation, and I don't see the need for a deferral. If, as my colleague says, that people could make changes, well, we can still set the policy and people can conform to it if they like. Because it seems to me when we defer things, we quite often do it rather than simply turning down a motion. And I think this is a motion with merit and a recommendation with merit, and I fully support it. I think that, I don't think that as politicians, any of us have been, well, if we have been slanted or whatever by anonymous spokespersons, I think that goes with the territory. We've all developed a pretty thick skin. But I know for a fact that there have been community groups and there have been volunteers who have been hurt by anonymously made comments. And for us to support with our financial resources the forums in which those statements have been made, I think that that lowers the tone of our public discourse in Cornwall, and I think we're letting down a lot of our volunteers in the community sector. That I think we can establish a policy, and people want to conform to it if they can, and if they don't, well then they'll forego our advertising dollars. It seems to me they're willing to be very clear.
Councilor Gardner.
Councilor Tebow. Well, I'm not going to support the deferral either, because everything I've seen in the media these days is people being attacked, being called names that I don't really want to say here. Not fair, people being, I have to say, women being called sluts, being called whatever. It's on these blogs, and it's happening all the time. But I need to put a stop for it. Whether you're watching Dr. Oz, Dr. whatever, the media has been talking about this going on, and they want to make it stop it in the States. They want to stop it here in Cornwall. They want to stop it in Canada, in Ontario. This report is well done, well researched.
Sorry, my colleagues are not debating at this time. We're debating the deferral and not the report.
I'm not going to support the deferral.
Thank you. Councilor Tebow.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's interesting to listen to the discussions on the deferral. I was going to make an amendment to the original motion that the motion came to the table. I like a good part of the policy. I think it has a lot of value, but I think that it's isolation versus what we need to focus on is the corporations or the companies that offer these services. So it's not only a website or a publication, but if a news media organization makes the statement that they want to have some stuff online that is not controlled and some stuff in the newspapers that's controlled, and we're going to buy from the newspaper when, on the other hand, we're being slandered or being slandered online. I don't think that that's fair. Everybody should be treated the same way. So I'm going to listen to the discussions and make a decision as to whether I'm going to support the deferral.
Councilor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support the deferral only because I'm not as familiar with websites and links. So to understand it fully, I want to do my own explorations and investigations, and right now I can't I agree with the principle of the motion, the recommendation from administration. I don't think I have enough information to totally rule out.
Councilor Clement?
I'll just make a comment and then I'll speak directly to the deferral and ask a question about that. Anonymity of those posts online is a huge problem. Many people remain respectful, but many others just bring down the level of conversation, way down, to a place that is unacceptable, that is mean and hurtful. Not just hurtful to the people that are named in those posts, but hurtful to all of us as a community. It's depressing to read that stuff, and it's not helpful to be depressed when you're trying to work hard to build up your community and to keep people focused on positive things. That being said, though, I think this report touches on some things that are interesting that could go further. And I'm just wondering if we defer, if Mr. Peters or the Economic Development Department could elaborate on moderation policies. Because the advertising policy as proposed here is to say, no, we're not going to advertise with anybody who allows anonymity. But what about investigating whether these places have moderation policies, whether we can work with them around those policies, whether they would be acceptable? And how do you define offensive commentary? I might like more information around that. So I'm wondering if the report could address that in more detail if we defer it and the report comes back to us.
Mr. Peters?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Clement. Certainly we could provide more detail. The challenge will be that there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of websites that are currently offering anonymous commentary. The purpose of the report was to focus on the negative and offensive inflammatory content that may be associated with our brand. But certainly I could provide a more detailed report exploring the practice online. There would be limitations to that report given to the wide variety of sites, wide variety of moderation policies out there.
Okay, so I'm going to accept the deferral and I'm going to hope that we get a beefed up report, because I think simply saying we're not going to advertise is one way to go, but maybe working with the local media to bring them towards something that's more acceptable for us and for our community might be an interesting or useful dialogue. So I'm going to vote for the deferral and hope for additional information.
Councilor Murphy?
Thank you very much, Your Worship, through you, and I believe this may be directed towards Mr. Peters. A timeline for the deferral, 2 weeks. We can't put this off 6 weeks into the new year.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, for clarification, I did within my motion indicate the in December, our meeting in December.
So set 2 weeks, okay. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Just any further discussion on this? Those are the questions? All those in favor of the deferral? Opposed? Deferral carries.